I get that Voldemort grip. It seems that people are feeling a little cold towards the Fantastic Beasts franchise. For the most part, people like the first one. I mean, I for one think that film is just okay, but for the most part, people like it. When it comes to The Crimes of Grindelwald, however, yeah, not many people like that one. I mean, I think I do. I don't know, that film's a bit of a paradox to me, because I enjoyed it when I saw it at the cinema. I saw it twice, actually. But yeah, I enjoyed it both times, even though I knew that it was, you know, the screenplay was a bit of a mess and it lacked imagination. But yeah, I kind of liked it. I don't know, the film, it's really bizarre. I mean, it's so bizarre, in fact, that I left the cinema wanting part 3. Like, that's crazy. So when it comes to Fantastic Beasts 3, and the rest of the films left in this 5-part franchise, there are 3 things we know for certain. 1, that the production for Fantastic Beasts 3 has been delayed from the summer of 2019 to late 2019. And that's because Dan Fogler said that it's because that the film is going to be bigger than the previous 3 combined, but I highly doubt that. I mean, I probably think Warner Brothers just wants J.K. Rowling to, like, you know, scale down the script, but, I mean, who knows why it's delayed. Number 2, there'll be a time jump during Fantastic Beasts 3, and the film takes place in Rio de Janeiro. And number 3, we know that the final film will include the legendary duel between Albus Dumbledore and Gellert Grindelwald. So we've got 3 films left in this 5-part Fantastic Beasts film series, and if the films continue down the same filmmaking path as The Crimes of Grindelwald, then the Fantastic Beasts franchise and the Potter franchise in general will be in a bit of trouble. So today I'm giving you all my top 10 things I want to see in the Fantastic Beasts franchise. Side note, this video will be split into 2, in the sense of that the first 5 things will be filmmaking things that I want them to improve upon, and the last 5 will be like fan servicey stuff that I want to see in the wizarding world. Number 1. More concise and simple storytelling. The Crimes of Grindelwald was overly complicated. It had so many subplots that didn't need to be there, and the plots that were important didn't feel that importance. I mean, the whole Credence subplot about him finding out who his family were didn't really feel that important until the very end, where we learn that he is related to Albus Dumbledore. But if it was that important, why wasn't Credence focused more heavily on throughout the entire film? Look, JK, if you want people to care about this franchise, just don't make your story so overly complex and complicated, because The Crimes of Grindelwald did not need to be as complex as it was. Number 2. Better direction from David Yates. David Yates' filmography is really confusing to me, because he can make really great films like Order of the Phoenix and Deathly Hallows Part 2, and then he can pull a Half-Blood Prince. A dull, muddy-looking, and boring film that doesn't seem to capture the magic of the book it's based on. Now, I remember when I was re-watching the Harry Potter films for the retrospective that I'm working on, just how original Order of the Phoenix was. I mean, David Yates brought such an imagination and energy to that. I mean, that film had such great, fast-paced montages, the duels were really inventive and really cool, and as a whole, David Yates nailed the relationship between Harry and Sirius Black. And his death scene, whew, that was impactful. But then, he follows it up with Half-Blood Prince.
Open up, you. Don't you trust me?
Luckily, he manages to redeem himself with Deathly Hallows Part 1, a film that's a bit of a mixed bag, but then he absolutely outdoes himself with Deathly Hallows Part 2. But then he makes Legend of Tarzan, and oh my god, that movie was just awful. Like, I watched like half an hour of it and I gave up. That movie, I don't know what the issue with that movie was. Like, was it the editing? Was it David Yates? I have no idea. All I know is that I hated that movie. But now, when it comes to the Fantastic Beasts films, where Yates is concerned, there seems to be a bit of a lack of imagination. I mean, everybody, and I mean wizards alike, all dress in this same 1920s gangster attire. Like, even Dumbledore, one of the most eccentrically dressed wizards, is stuck wearing a 3-piece suit. Like, what? No, where are the wizard robes? Like, where are the flamboyant colours? That's all gone. And then we have the wizarding duels, which have just become increasingly dull. I'm getting pretty tired of every duel consisting of bang, 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 bang. Like, where are the spell incantations? Where are the variety of spells? Why aren't they incorporating transfiguration into the duels? Look, David Yates, for the next 3 films, can we please be just a little bit more creative? Number 3. Better editing and better cinematography. Now, just going off the trailers, The Crimes of Grindelwald has a lot of scenes that you could just tell were cut from the film. Dumbledore using the Deluminator, Leta Lestrange at a dance, and most notably, and this is in the film, the scene where the Aurors go to tell Dumbledore to go and fight Grindelwald was so heavily edited down that it's laughable. I mean, the scene just starts off with Travers, the Auror, going, "Hey Dumbledore, Grindelwald's causing a bit of a ruckus. Do you mind, like, fighting him? And then Dumbledore's just like, no. And then all of a sudden, it just cuts to Travers going, fight him now, or you're banned from teaching defense against the dark arts. Like, geez, that cut wasn't jarring at all. And in regards to the cinematography, please, can we stop using the same washed out color palette? I mean, you look at the trailers and then you watch the actual film, it's so completely different. The trailers are so full of color, and the films are all, like, desaturated and low contrast and just, ugh. And in regards to the camera work, can we please stop using that irritating 3D camera? I mean, that 3D camera sort of ruined the opening breakout scene at the beginning of The Crimes of Grindelwald, and when we joined Newt, I was not a fan at all of that spiraling 3D camera. It just looked awful. Number 4. More relatable characters and less irrelevant side characters. Now, I really like Newt Scamander, but I really hate to say this, but in The Crimes of Grindelwald, he comes across as a bit of a dickhead. I mean, he seemed to throw his brother Theseus Scamander under the bus when he was just simply trying to look out for him. And my god, let's just not talk about why he goes to Paris, because I hate the reason why he goes to Paris in The Crimes of Grindelwald. Okay, if we really have to talk about it, then fine. So the Ministry of Magic tells Newt to go to Paris to kill Credence. He refuses. Then Dumbledore tells him to go to Paris to save Credence. He refuses. I'm sorry, is this not Newt Scamander, the same person from the first Fantastic Beasts film who said that he was there to protect Credence? And now all of a sudden he doesn't really care? What?
Credence? It's Credence, isn't it? I'm here to help you, Credence. Because I'm not here to hurt you.
So what changed in between films? But yeah, the main reason why he goes to Paris was just because Tina was there. Really? Look, JK, just write Newt Scamander like you did in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them textbook, and you're golden. Everyone will pretty much fall in love with that character. And when it comes to the side characters, please just write less, because less is more. Keep Tina. Keep developing her relationship with Newt. Keep developing Newt and Theseus' relationship, because although we didn't get a lot of it in The Crimes of Grindelwald, the bits that we did get, I really did like. So keep doing that. Keep Jacob, although please just give him something else to do other than just being the comedic relief. And while we're on the subject of Jacob, please explain why Queenie went to the dark side, because her turn makes absolutely no sense in the film. Oh yeah, and most importantly, give Jude Law, aka the best Dumbledore, a more prominent role because he's just the best. And in regards to the token characters that we know from the Potter franchise, like Nagini and Nicholas Flamel, only really have them involved if they actually service the plot, because in The Crimes of Grindelwald, they didn't do anything. Number 5. Take time to expand the wizarding world. In the first Fantastic Beasts film, we saw wizarding life in America, although we really didn't. We only saw their Ministry of Magic and a dingy pub. And in The Crimes of Grindelwald, we saw the French Ministry of Magic and their Diagon Alley, which was essentially just a random town square in Paris. And the way they get into French Diagon Alley has really confused me, because they sort of go through a statue and then they're in like this little pocket dimension. But then later on in the film, they head towards the Lestrange grave. But like, are they still in the pocket dimension, or does that just like suddenly lead out into the wider world? Like, please explain that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if you really want to expand the wizarding world, you have to do more than just like showing us 2 places. I mean, show us why these places are much more different and unique compared to the British one. Because if not, these movies might as well be set in Britain, keep it to like the Diagon Alley that we all know and love, and the Ministry that we all know and love. Number 6. A more confident Newt Scamander.
Come on.
Now don't get me wrong, I love Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander. This is not me taking a jab at him at all. It's more to do with the writing of the character. Because in my review for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I mentioned how it took me a while to actually really like the character of Newt Scamander, just because he was just so quiet. And despite his many flaws in The Crimes of Grindelwald, I really enjoyed Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander in that film. Like the way he was taming the Zoo-Woo and the way he was interacting with Tina. It was adorable and it was really good. But I won't lie, I feel like the best rendition of Eddie Redmayne's Newt Scamander isn't even in the movies, it's in the Fantastic Beasts audiobook. Now, if you haven't listened to this, please do, because this is the definitive version of Newt Scamander. This version of Newt Scamander is confident, he knows about these creatures, and he's an intellectual. And although we do see that in the movies, we don't see it nearly enough, because this Newt Scamander is the one I want to see. This Newt Scamander feels like Indiana Jones. And yes, while we do see Newt Scamander taming these creatures in the movies, Those sequences are very far and few in between, which is kind of annoying because for the most part, all Newt Scamander really does on screen is just like mumble whisper his way throughout the course of the films. Now look, I get that Newt is very relatable to those who are a bit socially awkward, I get that, but in terms of being a film's protagonist, he isn't that massively interesting when he doesn't really talk that much. Plus, wouldn't it also be a good message to, tell everyone that, hey, it's okay to be awkward, but eventually you can grow into be a more confident person. Which is why I want Newt to grow throughout these movies and be a more confident person. And I wouldn't mind seeing him ride a dragon, because that'd be pretty cool too. Number 7. Grindelwald's backstory. Okay, so I'm not a massive fan of the casting of Johnny Depp as Grindelwald, because to me, he just didn't fit the character of Grindelwald I imagined from the books. I imagined Grindelwald from the books to be this handsome man, seductive, charismatic, and instead we get Johnny Depp with bleached blonde hair and an English accent. Which really bugged me because Grindelwald is European, he went to Durmstrang, and he should have a European accent. I mean, Depp just isn't my first choice for Grindelwald. I mean, I would have gotten someone like Ewan McGregor or Tom Hiddleston or Michael Fassbender. Actually, Michael Fassbender would have been great, been a perfect choice. But also, why didn't they just get the guy who played him in Deathly Hallows Part 1? I mean, he is in The Crimes of Grindelwald playing the younger Grindelwald. I mean, if you age him up a little bit, he'd be the right age to play present-day Grindelwald. Why didn't they just do that? But regardless of casting, Johnny Depp was actually really enjoyable in The Crimes of Grindelwald. I really enjoyed, his theatricality. But I do have to say, my issues with Grindelwald as a character is, why is he doing what he's doing? I mean, he holds this rally basically saying that he doesn't hate muggles, but he views them as lesser and wizards are far superior. But why does he think that? What made him get to this place? If Rowling can make Grindelwald a sympathetic villain and we understand where he came from, then I think that Grindelwald will be a pretty good villain. I mean, Depp certainly has the theatricality for the role nailed down.
Mr. Scamander!
Do you think Dumbledore will mourn for you?
Number 8. Dumbledore and Fawkes. So in The Crimes of Grindelwald, Albus Dumbledore tells Newt a little story about the Dumbledore family. He says that a legend exists where, when a Dumbledore is in dire need, a phoenix will appear to them. And by the end of the film, when we discover that Credence is actually Aurelius Dumbledore, we see a phoenix appear next to him, which I assume is Fawkes. And because this happened, it sort of gives credibility to Grindelwald's claim that Credence is Albus Dumbledore's brother. I mean, JK, you gotta have a good explanation for this, because I'm trusting you to have a good explanation for this, because if not, what are you doing? But ever since I heard Dumbledore say that in The Crimes of Grindelwald, I've just sort of imagined this scene just after Dumbledore has defeated Grindelwald. Like, he's bloody, he's emotionally damaged, he sort of collapses to his knees, and he just cries. The effort of the battle was too much, plus it's mixed in with the emotional distraught of having to take down a former lover. It's just overwhelming him. And then we see Fawkes flutter down by his side, we see him use the Phoenix Tears to heal Albus's wounds, and then he produces the Phoenix song. I don't know, I sort of just imagine this scene to be like a really nice emotional beat. I don't know, I really hope they do it. Number 9. The presence of Tom Riddle. Now, Jude Law's been pretty vocal of the fact that he wants a little cameo appearance of Tom Riddle. And if done right and done pretty well, I'm all for that. Like, imagine if we saw a scene between Newt and Dumbledore where Newt was just like, oh, Dumbledore, blah, 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 Grindelwald is at said place, blah, blah, blah. And then Dumbledore's just like, excellent, Newt. You go there first and I'll meet you there. There's just something I have to attend to. And then we see that Dumbledore is dressed like Michael Gambon was in the Half-Blood Prince flashback. That'd be just really cool because as fans we would know, oh hey, he's going to see young Tom Riddle. Or we could see Newt, on Dumbledore's request, investigate the Chamber of Secrets. And just imagine we see like a young Tom Riddle skulking around the corridors and they could even recreate the scene that we saw in Chamber of Secrets. I don't know, that'd just be really cool. Number 10. Fantastic Beasts, The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. Now, I've tweeted this a couple of times now, but I want to say it here because this is something I really want to happen. One of the Fantastic Beasts films needs to be called Fantastic Beasts, The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. I mean, this film would be the film that us Harry Potter fans have been wanting for ages. I mean, this would be the film where we see Dumbledore's backstory. We see where he first met Grindelwald. We see the three-way duel between Albus, Aberforth, and Grindelwald, which then results in the death of Ariana Dumbledore. And I really need this film because all of Dumbledore's backstory was set up in Deathly Hallows Part 1, very minimally, might I add, but it was still set up. But then Part 2 pays off pretty much none of it. And that's just extremely disappointing because in the books, The scene at King's Cross where Harry basically confronts Dumbledore about Grindelwald is one of the most emotionally charged moments in the entire book series. And while we're on the subject of Albus Dumbledore and Gellert Grindelwald, can J.K. Rowling please explain the Blood Pact, because was it made before or after Ariana died? I also hope that once the Blood Pact has been destroyed, there's still a bit of reluctance from Dumbledore to face Grindelwald because, you know, he still has feelings for him. Because if the Blood Pact was just a plot device for Dumbledore not to fight Grindelwald, then that's just stupid, because then you've taken away all the emotional depth that Dumbledore originally had in the Potter books. But yes, those are the 10 things I want to see in the Fantastic Beasts franchise. If you enjoyed the video, leave me a comment down below. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell to stay notified. My social media links are down in the description, so if you give them a look and a follow, that'd be real nice. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.